Hi, my name is Eunice. Have you ever read Lord of the Flies by William Golding? It has proved its value as being on many reading lists that are recommended by a lot of professors and famous magazines. I've just finished reading the book and I want to introduce it for you. This is the table of contents. Let me give you some ideas about the author and the backgrounds of the book. William Golding is a British writer who also wrote Rites of Passage. The Times magazine ranked Golding as a third on its list of the 50 greatest British writers since 1945. In the book, there is the information that boys were stranded on a deserted island due to the nuclear war. It was the infamous World War II. As you know, a lot of countries participated in the war. The reasons why they took part in the war were all different. However, it lasted too long and even the soldiers of each country had forgotten what were they fighting for. It indicates the war was extremely terrible. I think Golding wanted to show the awful truth of that war by showing even British boys had to escape and run away to somewhere in the novel. Now I'm going to talk about the summary of the book. A plane was crashed which was supposed to transport a group of British boys to save them from the nuclear war. All of the adults, including the pilot, couldn't survive from the crash, and only boys had landed on the island. The main characters are Ralph, Piggy, Jack, Sam, Eric, Roger, and Simon. Among them, Ralph was chosen as a leader, and Jack was allowed to lead a hunter's group. Ralph and Piggy had made rules as they did in the school. The rule was that a person who has conch shell on his head could always speak of his opinion and the others cannot interrupt him. They had recognized the importance of being rescued and surviving there. Thus, Ralph and Simon built shelters and Ralph made a fire hoping that someone would see the smoke and come rescue them. On the other hand, Jack was only obsessed with hunting and didn't care any other things for his groups and the other boys. He didn't work for the society but spent the time only satisfying himself. Therefore, Ralph and Jack couldn't help but to start disagreeing each other and that became an argument. During this situation, there was a rumor that there was a beast on the island. Young boys had nightmares because of the fear about the monster. Then it seemed like the monster really existed, even they did not see it for real. As time passed, Jack and his hunters became more savagery, but Ralph and his friends tried to keep their society as civilized as possible, just like they were in the past. A lot of boys made up their mind to follow Jack because it looked having more freedom than following the rules. One day, Simon, who was a friend of Ralph, went into the jungle. He accidentally bumped into the Lord of the Flies, which was actually a sow's head on a stick that was killed by Jack's group. The Lord of the Flies told Simon that he could never escape from himself and promised to show something fun. After this happening, he went back to talk about it with the boys. On his way, he came to realize the fact that the beast that the boys were scared by was just the corpse of a dead parachutist. He hurried himself to clear the mistake that the boys had made and to tell them about the truth. Then he tripped over the vines. Jack and his group saw him as the beast and killed him. After this, the hunters even took the fire by stealing Piggy's glasses from Ralph. So Ralph and Piggy went to Jack's territory to regain their stolen things. However, Jack was extremely hostile to them, and Piggy was even killed by a huge rock that was thrown from Roger and the hunters. Jack ordered his hunters to catch Ralph and to kill him. Fortunately, a naval officer discovered the island and the boys were able to get rescued. From now on, I'll introduce my favorite character, which is Piggy. Many people would be curious why I didn't choose Ralph to be my favorite. I agree with that Ralph became a good leader as time passes, but I was disappointed at him when he didn't keep his words with Piggy not to call with his nickname Piggy to others when they first met. After that, he had been called his worst nickname until he died there. Also, Ralph has a tendency not to care for Piggy as well as he did for Jack, Simon, or Sam and Eric. If Piggy was not a big help for him, I could understand why he treated Piggy like that. However, Piggy provided a lot of ideas about the rules to get settled on the island a little better. He is also a representation of reason. Therefore, I feel sad for him because I know how hard he had tried for the entire society and especially for Ralph. He was also a good friend who had reasonable decision and place even among Jack and his group. No wonder why he sometimes felt depressed when others treated him poorly, but it didn't affect his thoughts. It is true that Lord of the Flies is a well-known book for everyone. Still, I don't think that this is such a fascinating book for me. I have dreamed the ending to be terrible for Jack and his group and to be wonderful for Ralph and his friends. As Jack and his group represent savagery and Ralph and his friends represent the civilization, I was sure that the author would make the ending as I hoped. Unfortunately, he killed Simon and Piggy, who were the best friends of Ralph in the novel, and made Jack and his group to be rescued. I felt more terrible that Ralph would be transported to home with the savages who were just about to kill him. If you want to observe implementing justice in the novel, it would be better not to try this book. Or it might be okay to read if you have plenty of time so you don't have anything to do. If the ending was about showing Jack and his boys were getting fair punishment for what they did on the island, I would be satisfied. I can't even imagine how hard life would be for Ralph. His friends were all dead by the savage boys. In my mind, the characters of Piggy and Ralph remain as if they're like a black sheep of the family. I believe someone who can endure such parts I mentioned can only finish this book, so I don't recommend it that much. I wish Ralph to meet Piggy and Simon at least in his dreams. Thank you for listening to my presentation. It was Eunice!